Next up, death and taxes. The only two certain things in life. Death we can skip for the time being. Taxes is what we will talk about next. And Dmitry Yegorov, the Deputy Secretary General of the Ministry of Finance of Estonia, is responsible for tax and customs policy, and he has the experience of leading several departments and has served as the tax and customs board for about 10 years. And if I remember correctly, then the tax office here has said that they have a vision that they want, was it by year 2020 or in the very near future, that people do not visit the tax office anymore. Not because we will do away with taxes, but we will get everything digital. So maybe you can comment on that as well. Please, Dmitry Yegorov.
Thank you. Making a link to the previous speaker, who is an excellent speaker in my view. When he was speaking about the digital prescription, he said he has a chronic condition. I know what it is. It's called contagious enthusiasm, but I just didn't know that he was taking pills for that. I'm on the other side as a boring tax person. So we will be talking about more of the challenges rather than solutions, but as is typical for Estonians, we nag about everything. We criticize everything. But that only means that if we don't like something, we do something about it. So these challenges that I'm going to speak about is something that is on our agenda, or at least should be on our agenda to solve in future. And yes, I'm not going to be talking about death. So changing in working patterns also mean changes in taxes. Taxes on the policy level and changes that need to be also addressed in the administration of taxes. We do have some successful responses to these challenges, which I will of course mention to you, but there are a lot of remaining issues, and I'm sure that those people who know something about taxes in other countries will recognize at least partly the same issues. And if you have solutions to those, my contact data is on the webpage of the Ministry of Finance. You're very welcome to contact us. Now, what is the status quo of changing working patterns? On the rise, we have multiple sources of income. If you look at the number of sources of income people have, then those numbers will be increasing year on year. And more people are actually interested in diversifying their income sources. Various kinds of engagements are getting more difficult to distinguish. Is it a job contract? Is it contract for services? Am I a sole entrepreneur, sole proprietor? Is it business? We have lots of those different forms, and we have different consequences, including tax consequence for choosing a specific legal form. But these forms are getting more and more multiple, and then we have also blurring borders between those different types of engagements. We have distance work on the rise. We have flexible hours on the rise, which means that people are doing the same work in different locations. And then what do we have? The next one is personal assets versus business assets, and that division. The boundaries, the borders between those two are getting blurred as well. And of course, for taxes, whether it's a personal asset or whether it's a business asset, it is extremely important. Can you deduct that, or can you deduct that after paying taxes on that? And then there is a question of digital nomads. Thank you, the e-residence team, that we have this extreme problem on our hand, what to do with the digital nomads, because what is the jurisdiction? Where are they doing their work? We are so fixed on location, physical location, for so many taxes. And yet for making money, it's not important where you are, it's important that you are working. And then sharing economy. Are we talking about sharing? Are we talking about economy? Because keeping those two apart will solve a lot of problems. For sharing, if it's me that needs to go from Stockholm to Göteborg, and then I announce to other people, I'm going there. If you want to share the costs with me, come along. This is sharing. But if I'm an Uber driver and I make my car available to other people not knowing where to go. Well, this is economy. And this is one of the questions that we have been talking today about during the Economic and Social Committee meeting, the public hearing here in Tallinn. And the platform questions are something that we are going to be speaking about this Friday and Saturday at the Finance Minister's ECOFIN. So this topic is extremely hot topic at the moment. So the tax policy challenges, if we start going by categories, which tax issues are concerned, are for us, at least for us in Estonia, are social security issues. And social security, there we have mostly pension insurance and medical insurance. We have contribution-based system with different variations between contract types. You know, when is the start of your medical insurance, how much of that goes into your medical insurance, and what is summed up and what is not summed up. There is a question of still remaining justifications of these variations. And year on year, we see less and less of those justifications because social tax is social tax, no matter what is the name of the contract under which you're paying it. And of course, this also includes the issue of IT complexity. You know, if social tax can be paid in 5 or 6 different ways under 5 or 6 different contracts, and then different benefits are connected to that, is that justified? You know, you would have to account for that. People love to say IT can do it all, but I always ask, does IT have to do it all? Maybe there are easier ways to accommodate these issues. We have strong links between the taxes and the benefits in what concerns social insurance, social security, and these contribute tens of millions in revenue. Yes, we cannot afford at this time free-for-all security that many countries do, because we do have a problem of what we call an envelope salary or unregistered labor. And when we say, if you work legally, if taxes are paid legally for you, then you get your pension insurance and you get your medical insurance. And that is a motivation boost for people to say to a not so honest employer, wait a minute, no, I don't want illegal labor. I don't want salary in the envelope. I want my salary to come to the bank, and I want all taxes to be paid on it. We have also new business models that pose new questions to us. Is it active income or is it passive income? You know, when you're sick or when you're old, if it's income from capital as passive income, you're not losing it. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a deposit in a bank, whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you're an employee or whether you're a pensioner, you still have that income. But what concerns working, you know, active income, are you able to go to work, or are you sick today, or are you home on a pension, and that's why you don't go to work? This is extremely important for social security contributions at the moment, but will it be important in the future? We have also a lot of cross-border activity, and that actually means that the adequacy of regulations is actually put in question. This is one big question that the Ministers of Finance will be discussing in Tallinn this weekend, because ability of pinpointing the exact location or of where work is done or where value is created, if we're talking about business, is becoming next to impossible. Again, I must return to what I said in the beginning. It is important that work is being done, and it becomes less and less important where this work is being done. I'm aware, of course, of the European regulations about social security, that you should be socially secured in the place, in the country where you do your work. But what about digital nomads? This is a very big question. And it's also a question for tax policy, question for tax authorities. You know, if relocation is so easy and there are no physical links to places to work, what's with the motivation to contribute to social security of specific countries? Can we see the situations of cherry picking in social security because there are no strong links to location any longer? That's a big question. For tax administration challenges, we have to say that this is completely true. People don't want to come to tax office. Except for probably about 10 years ago when people really did want to come to the tax office, because we said if you submit your tax return online, you will get your refund within 5 working days. If you do that on paper, you get that in July. So people lined up, and we had basically the project of IT literacy, where our tax administration staff were basically teaching people to submit a tax return online. We had 2 hours waiting line to the customer's computer at the tax office, and none in the physical line to submit a tax return on paper. So this is a lot. This has a lot to do with challenges that digitalization and new working patterns mean for tax administration. Questions, of course, are getting more and more complicated, more difficult, which also means that we have to raise the level of consulting services. What are the types of contracts? Whether are we dealing with a situation of incorporating where personal income is received in the form of corporation? What are the questions that are dealt with on a cross-border level, where our people also have to know not only the Estonian legislation, but also the European legislation and the legislation of the countries neighboring to us? So this is a great challenge to our tax administration. So with increasing cross-border activities, of course, we have multiple language service. By the way, I must tell you one very interesting situation. We have a very, very efficient and very professional specialist working in the Tallinn office of the tax administration who speaks excellent Finnish. And so whenever there was a question that was related to Finland and she was not able to answer, she always called the main office in Finland, the main tax office. And they haven't figured it out for 5 years that she was actually calling from Estonia. They thought that she was a Finnish local office. So those are the questions that become important, and if we have specialists like that, it's only a joy to offer better services to our people. Of course, technical cooperation with different countries and exchange of information is a big question for us. Are we able to exchange information actively and efficiently? But there are also remaining challenges, and I really hope that, I know the Commission is doing, the European Commission is doing some work in this respect, and they are going to come up with a recommendation there. But anonymity of sharing economy platforms, anonymity that these platforms provide, can actually be a very big challenge for income data collection by the tax authority. In Estonia, we do have some positive experience with voluntary cooperation between these platforms and Tax and Customs Administration. But just today, I was asked by the representative of one very large international platform who says that they are cooperating with local authorities. What about the others? Why do we cooperate and why do others not cooperate? How are you going to deal with this situation? And this is a big question. So what are the successful responses we have had so far? Share writing and crowdfunding platforms, some of them collaborate with Tax and Customs Board. I'll explain that in the next slide and some graph, but the Tax and Customs Board about 2 years ago sent 8 offers to various notorious platforms, of which 5 actually replied and 3 entered into cooperation. And for now, we know that this is last year's income data, that those who declared income from share riding, that's Uber and Taxify, the 2 that are in cooperation with the Tax and Customs Board in Estonia. So of those, 85% of the data came through this automated solution. So basically, the driver in Uber or in Taxify ticks the box and say, yes, I feel okay with you sending the information to the tax administration. So 85% of those who declared income did that through this application. And this is voluntary. This is done voluntarily, absolutely. Now, e-residence, of course, Siim has already told you that the growth rate of e-residence exceeds natural population growth rate. And of course, that means new means of operation for our tax administration and also tax policy challenges. But it's a great opportunity to set up a business and run it from a distance. I wonder if the largest company operating a ferry between Helsinki and Tallinn has felt any difference, because the first in line to get that e-residency were the Finns, who actually have a lot of companies here in Estonia, who got an excellent opportunity to stop coming to Estonia every time they had to have a board meeting and do it online from Finland, from a mökki somewhere far away from Helsinki. So this is how this works for the platform and tax and customs administration cooperation. There is consent from service providers given to the sharing economy platforms. That means that the platforms and the tax administration have agreed on a specific format, how to send that information. And then when these freelancers or service providers go to submit their tax return online to the tax administration, the information is already there. It's pre-populated. And as I mentioned, 85% of those who have declared income did so through Uber, Taxify, or crowdfunding tick-the-box solution. We have another, hopefully, successful response, although this is not operative yet because we still have to program that and the banks still have to program that, but hopefully it's going to be available since next year. There is a new entrepreneurship form called business account. It's a new hassle-free form of conducting business for natural persons. There is one tax that covers all of your obligations, and there's no accounting, no reporting, no cost deduction, no receipts, nothing. So basically, you just open that account. The bank takes the 20% that covers all of your obligation, and the Social Security is included in there, and that's it. Go about, do your business. Don't worry about taxes. We do have already an automated solution for declaring taxes and paying taxes with one of the banks, where if you are a cashless business, you pay salary, don't worry about declaring taxes on those salary, because that is taken care of by the bank. The bank will tell you, this is how much you need to pay taxes on top of that, and don't send any information to the Tax and Customs Administration, because we've already taken care of that. Now, Siim has already mentioned that we are in a project of abolishing tax returns. Yes. We don't need tax returns in the future, because what is tax returns? It's the same data that is already in the accounting. So if you give us access to your accounting, you have to stop submitting tax return, because we don't need new information. We already have all the information. The same for Statistics Office, the same for Statistical Department of Estonian Bank. We don't need no more information. Go and do your business, earn your money. And of course, one of the largest changes in Social Security concerning cross-border operations is export of pensions to third countries, which is now available. I don't see how we could have been a nation of digital nomads if we kept that limit in the future. So whenever you want to get your pension in the future, you can do it wherever you live. If you earned it here, you're entitled to it. So this is a small graph talking about the way the business account is going to operate. I'm not going to go into details here. If you're interested in that, you can definitely find out the presentation online afterwards. If you have any questions about that, please contact us. Or if you have something similar, we'd be happy to learn of that. Now, I didn't talk about death, just as I promised. I did talk about taxes, and I hope that I wasn't too boring for you. Thank you.
A few questions, please. Thanks very much. This was interesting, and as an entrepreneur, my experiences with the Estonian tax board have been only positive. Always very helpful, and taxes we need to pay. I was reading once an EU report on the black economy and not paying taxes, and I was looking at Greece. This was the high peak of the Greek crisis, and I was thinking, well, of course. They don't pay their taxes, look at the economy. And then I looked at Estonian data, and I was ashamed about my initial reaction, because whatever the figure was, it was surprisingly high for me. Digitalisation probably offers good opportunities to tackle this envelope payments?
I think so. It depends on whether the person involved in this job contract has anything to do, of course, with the digital sphere or not. But here, I think, basically, just as in any situation, you have to have allies in order to solve any kind of a problem. And one of the allies at the starting time for the tax administration were actually banks, because everyone was interested in a loan and mortgage to buy their home. And what did banks do? They said, well, excuse me, I don't see your salary coming into the bank account. You can have all kinds of certificates on paper, but we don't take those. We need to see the money on the bank account. And this was one of the driving force. And of course, every Estonian have to have a car. And again, you go to a leasing company and they say the same. Sorry, we don't care about your paper certificates. We need to see the money coming digitally into your account. So that was helpful.
All right. Let's have a question from the audience. Do you have any solutions on how to retain tax revenue when numerous jobs will be replaced by artificial intelligence?
Do you have any doubts? No, but taxes have always been there. I'm sure that whenever we run into a situation where there's a lot of AI and people get out of jobs, certainly there will have to be some new solutions. But there is a general transition from taxes on earning income to taxes on consumption and taxes on using resources or polluting the environment. So I guess the mix of taxes will always be dependent on what's hot and what's not in the economy. And one very important thing, I haven't done a lot of thinking about that, but I think that it's a valid point that people have said that, don't jump into conclusion that taxing robots is a good idea, because basically that means you are, stopping investment. You're messing with the investment by making it more expensive. But I guess that we'll have to live and see the situation. And as per Estonian situation at the moment, well, we don't have a lot of trouble with joblessness. I think the most pressing issue that we have is that we don't have enough workforce. We don't have enough qualified, educated workforce. And this may be one of the reasons behind robotization.
All right. Well, at least we're having the discussion on this, tax we robots or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.